Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast on mastering the basics of English conversation. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
And I'm excited to join you. Today, we'll be focusing on introducing yourself and asking questions in English. These are essential skills for anyone looking to improve their conversational abilities.
Absolutely. Let's start with the importance of greetings and self-introductions in English-speaking cultures. One of the most common greetings you'll hear is a simple hello or hi.
That's right. And don't forget the classic nice to meet you. It's a polite way to acknowledge someone you're meeting for the first time.
Exactly. When introducing yourself, you can say I'm name or my name is name. For example, hi there, I'm Emma.
And I might respond with nice to meet you, Emma. I'm James. It's simple but effective.
Speaking of introductions, it's worth noting that in English-speaking cultures, eye contact and a smile are crucial. They show friendliness and engagement in the conversation.
That's a great point. Nonverbal cues can be just as important as the words we use. Now, once we've introduced ourselves, how do we keep the conversation flowing?
Well, that's where asking simple questions comes in handy. For instance, you might ask, where are you from? Or what do you do?
Those are excellent examples. Another common question is, how long have you been here? If you're talking to someone who's visiting or new to the area.
Exactly. These questions help break the ice and give you topics to discuss further. For example, if someone says they're from France, you could ask about their favorite French foods or places to visit in France.
That's a great way to show interest and keep the conversation going. It's also important to remember that in English, it's common to use contractions in casual conversation, like I'm instead of I am, or what's instead of what is.
Absolutely. Contractions make our speech sound more natural and conversational. Now let's dive into some key questions for getting to know someone. One of the most common is, where are you from?
That's a great starting point. It's a simple way to learn about someone's background. For example, I might ask, where are you from, Emma?
And I could respond with, I'm from France. What about you, James? This not only answers the question but also turns it back to the other person, keeping the conversation balanced.
Exactly. Another essential question is, what do you do? It's a polite way to inquire about someone's profession or occupation.
Right. For instance, I'm a software engineer. I'm working on a project here for 3 months. This gives the other person a clear idea of what you do and why you're in their city.
That leads us nicely to another useful question. What brings you here? It's perfect for understanding the purpose of someone's visit or relocation.
Indeed. And don't forget, how long have you been here? This helps gauge whether someone is a newcomer or has been around for a while.
These questions are great for gathering information. It's also important to show genuine interest in the answers. For example, if someone says they're here for work, you might follow up with, that sounds interesting. What kind of work do you do?
Absolutely. It's all about building rapport and finding common ground. You might discover shared interests or experiences that can lead to deeper conversations.
Speaking of deeper conversations, it's worth noting that in English-speaking cultures, it's generally okay to ask these types of questions when you first meet someone. However, more personal questions should usually wait until you know the person better.
That's an important cultural point. In some cultures, asking about someone's job or marital status right away might be considered too forward, but in English-speaking countries, it's usually acceptable small talk.
Exactly. And remember, if you're ever unsure about whether a question is appropriate, you can always preface it with something like, if you don't mind me asking.
Now that we've covered introductions and basic questions, let's move on to expressing likes, dislikes, and opinions. These skills are crucial for engaging in deeper conversations.
Absolutely. Being able to share your thoughts and preferences can really help you connect with others. Let's start with expressing likes. A simple way to do this is by saying I love or I like.
Right, for example, you might say, I love the food markets in this city. It's a great way to show enthusiasm about something.
And for expressing dislikes, we can use phrases like I'm not a fan of or I don't really like. For instance, I'm not a fan of crowded places.
That's a polite way to express a dislike without sounding too negative. Now, what about asking for opinions?
A common phrase for that is what do you think about? For example, what do you think about the local cuisine?
And when sharing your own opinion, you can start with, in my opinion, or I think. Like, in my opinion, the museums here are world class.
These phrases are really useful for starting discussions. Let's put them into practice. How do you like the city so far?
I love it. The people are friendly, and there's so much to see and do. What's your favorite part of living here?
I'm a big fan of the food markets. The fresh produce is amazing. What do you think about the local cuisine?
In my opinion, it's one of the best things about living here. I especially enjoy the street food. Have you tried the food trucks near the park?
Not yet, but that sounds delicious. I'm always looking for new places to eat. Do you have any other recommendations?
Absolutely. There's a great jazz club downtown that I think you'd enjoy. They have live music every weekend.
That sounds fantastic. I love jazz. Would you like to check it out together sometime?
That sounds like a great idea. I'd love to join you. Speaking of which, let's talk about making and responding to invitations in English. It's an important part of socializing and building relationships.
Absolutely. Invitations can be formal or informal depending on the situation. For a formal invitation, you might say, "Would you like to join me for dinner?"
And for a more casual setting, you could say, "Do you want to grab a coffee sometime?" It's important to match the tone to the relationship and context.
Exactly. When accepting an invitation, a common phrase is, "I'd be happy to join you." For example, "I'd be happy to join you for that jazz concert."
And if you need to decline, it's polite to say something like, "I'm afraid I can't make it," or "Thanks for the invitation, but I have other plans."
Right, it's always good to be polite, even when declining. Now, let's put this into practice. I was thinking of going to an art exhibition this weekend. Would you like to come along?
That sounds interesting. What kind of art is it?
It's a modern art exhibition featuring local artists. I've heard it's quite innovative and thought-provoking.
In that case, I'd love to join you. I'm always eager to explore new art forms. What time were you thinking of going?
How about Saturday afternoon around 2 p.m.? We could grab a coffee afterwards and discuss the exhibition.
That works perfectly for me. I'm looking forward to it. This is a great example of how invitations can lead to fun experiences and deeper connections.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful opportunity to practice your English in a real-life situation. Remember, the key is to be open, friendly, and willing to engage in conversation.
That's right. And don't be afraid to ask for clarification if you don't understand something. Most people are happy to explain or rephrase things.
Excellent point. Language learning is a journey, and every conversation is an opportunity to improve. Do you have any final tips for our listeners?
Absolutely. One of the best tips I can offer is to practice active listening. When someone is speaking, focus on understanding their message rather than just waiting for your turn to speak.
That's crucial for meaningful conversations. Another tip is to use filler phrases like, "That's interesting," or "I see," to show you're engaged, even if you're not sure how to respond immediately.
Great point. And don't forget to ask follow-up questions. If someone mentions they're working on a project, you could ask, "What kind of project is it?" Or "How long have you been working on it?"
Exactly. These questions show genuine interest and keep the conversation flowing. It's also helpful to share related experiences or opinions. For example, if someone mentions they love hiking, you could say, "I enjoy hiking too. What's your favorite trail?"
That's a perfect example of finding common ground. Remember, it's okay to use the phrase, "What about you?" to turn the question back to the other person. It keeps the conversation balanced and gives you a chance to learn more about them.
Absolutely. And if you're ever stuck, don't be afraid to change the subject slightly. You could say something like, "That reminds me of," and introduce a related topic.
Great advice. It's also important to pay attention to nonverbal cues. If someone seems uncomfortable with a topic, it's okay to steer the conversation in a different direction.
Definitely. And remember, practice makes perfect. The more you engage in English conversations, the more natural and confident you'll become.
That's so true. Even small interactions like ordering coffee or asking for directions can help build your confidence and skills.
Absolutely. And don't be discouraged by mistakes, they're a natural part of learning. Native speakers are usually very appreciative of people making an effort to speak their language.
Excellent point. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today on the basics of English conversation. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Just to reiterate that confidence is key. Even with limited vocabulary, you can have meaningful conversations if you approach them with enthusiasm and openness.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you all for listening to our podcast on mastering the basics of English conversation. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring.
Yes, thank you. Remember to practice these tips in your daily life, and don't be afraid to strike up conversations in English whenever you can. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the English language.